Good morning. Today is Friday, November 14th. I'm Windsor Johnston from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Watchdog groups led by former Park Service employees say the government shutdown has worsened the funding and environmental crisis at national parks. NPR's Kirk Sigler reports the Trump administration ordered most national parks to stay open with a skeleton staff.
Thousands of furloughed National Park Service employees are now returning to work after the 43-day shutdown. Many entrance gates at parks remained open but unstaffed. One estimate by watchdog groups predicts the service may have lost upwards of $40 million in entrance fee revenue. This is a big deal because it follows cuts to the agency ordered by President Trump and his DOJ team. Since January, the Park Service had lost a quarter of its entire staff, from scientists to janitors to rangers. Meanwhile, the return of the remaining staff is seen as a relief following reports of vandalism of artifacts at Arches National Park in Utah, base jumpers off El Capitan at Yosemite, and damage to a stone wall at historic Gettysburg. Kirk Sigler, NPR News.
Air travel is picking back up after the government shutdown, but it will take some coordination to get everything fully running again. NPR's Joel Rhodes reports airlines say they're ready to move fast once air traffic control is completely staffed.
Airlines seem pretty confident that they can ramp up quickly. I mean, once the air traffic control situation is stabilized, maybe within just a few days of getting the word from the FAA. Chris Sununu is the CEO of Airlines for America, the industry trade group. He addressed this question on a call with reporters yesterday. Sununu says it might take up about a week for airlines to get back to full pre-shutdown normal, as he put it. But he is optimistic that they can get there before the Thanksgiving holiday rush that begins in earnest next week.
NPR's Joel Rose reporting. According to FlightAware.com, airlines are reporting more than 600 cancellations in the U.S. today and more than 500 delays. The Trump administration is upending its homelessness policy with deep cuts to funding for long-term housing. NPR's Jennifer Ludden reports critics warn it could push many thousands of people back onto the streets.
The change slashes two-thirds of the funding that's long been used for permanent housing with services. Instead, it will ramp up spending on transitional housing that requires work and addiction treatment. In a statement, the Department of Housing and Urban Development says the new policies will restore accountability and promote self-sufficiency. In another change, HUD will no longer automatically renew existing programs. Advocates to end homelessness say the timing of this major overhaul is terrible. Starting in January, it will leave many places around the country with no federal funding for months. They estimate it will put 170,000 people at risk of losing their housing again. Jennifer Ludden, NPR News, Washington.
The Department of Justice is joining a lawsuit seeking to overturn California's new congressional maps, which favor Democrats. The lawsuit came after voters approved Proposition 50 to draw new lines ahead of next year's midterm elections. Guy Maserati from member station KQED reports.
The Trump administration is teaming up with the California Republican Party to ask a federal judge to block the new congressional map from taking effect. They argue the Proposition 50 district lines were drawn to unfairly benefit Latino voters, violating the equal protection and voting rights of other Californians. Governor Gavin Newsom frames Prop 50 as an effort to counter moves by Republicans in Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, and possibly others. Democrats in Virginia have also countered, and other states are considering it. In a statement, a spokesperson for Newsom says Republicans, quote, lost at the ballot box, and soon they will also lose in court. For NPR News, I'm Guy Maserati in San Francisco.
The Trump administration is planning a special immigration enforcement operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Nick Della-Canal of member station WFAE reports Border Patrol agents could arrive there as soon as this weekend.
The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office says Border Patrol agents will arrive in Charlotte in the coming days, but details are still vague, including how many federal agents and for how long. Charlotte City Councilman-elect J.D. Mazuera Arias, an immigrant from Colombia who did not always have legal status himself, says the government should be more transparent.
If there is an operation or presence in Charlotte, the public has the right to know what's happening and why it's happening.
Latino advocacy groups say the announcement has already sparked fear, with families staying home and immigration help hotlines lighting up. For NPR News, I'm Nick Della-Canal in Charlotte, North Carolina.
A federal judge is weighing arguments over the appointment of the U.S. attorney who secured indictments against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. NPR's Ryan Lucas reports a decision is expected to be issued in the coming weeks.
Attorneys for both James Comey and Letitia James say that interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was unlawfully appointed. Because of that, they say, the separate indictments against Comey and James should be found invalid and dismissed. The Justice Department, meanwhile, argues that Halligan's appointment is valid and legal, and any perceived problem with it is at most, quote, a paperwork error. U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry was assigned to hear challenges to Halligan's appointment. Curry heard a little more than an hour of arguments from defense attorneys and prosecutors. She did not rule from the bench, but she did say she plans to issue her ruling by Thanksgiving. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Russia carried out an attack on the Ukrainian capital today, launching hundreds of missiles and drones, killing at least 4 people and injuring more than 24. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports Russia is stepping up attacks as winter approaches in an attempt to wipe out Ukraine's heating and power sources.
Ukrainian authorities say more than 400 drones were used in the assault. Ukraine's air defense tried to shoot them down. Residents awoke to the sound of machine gun fire and blasts. The head of Kyiv's military administration said Russia had struck residential buildings in nearly every neighborhood. Rescue workers are looking for survivors in the rubble. Kyiv's mayor Vitaly Klitschko says the city's heating infrastructure was also struck and to expect outages. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
Heavy rain swept across Gaza overnight, soaking tents and flooding the ruins of bombed-out homes. The United Nations says nearly 30,000 homes have been destroyed during the war. NPR's Aya Betrawi reports aid groups warn that only a fraction of the supplies needed are getting in, even with the ceasefire in place.
The Norwegian Refugee Council, which oversees tent supplies in Gaza, says Israel is blocking the entry of life-saving shelter materials for 1.5 million people. They say Israel's rejected nearly all requests from 9 aid groups to bring in tents, ceiling kits, bedding, and blankets, adding these are urgently needed as Gaza faces its 3rd winter since the start of the war. UN agencies say people are also struggling to eat enough due to obstacles and red tape. Israel is only allowing goods to enter through 2 crossings, despite saying a 3rd crossing would open, this one for northern Gaza, where famine was declared over the summer. Israel's military says it's not limiting aid and that hundreds of trucks of goods are entering daily. It did not respond to further questions. Aya Batrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny took home the biggest award at the Latin Grammys, Album of the Year. It was his first win in one of the main categories, as NPR's Isabella Gomez Sarmiento reports.
Bad Bunny won 5 awards during the 26th Annual Latin Grammys in Las Vegas. But he seemed most moved by Album of the Year for Debí Tirar Más Fotos, an homage to his home island. He dedicated the award to all the young people of Latin America and Puerto Rico in particular. The other big awards of the night went to familiar faces. Colombian singer Karol G won Song of the Year for her merengue hit Si Antes Tuviera Conocido, alongside fellow songwriters Edgar Barrera and Andrés Correa Ríos. Spanish singer Alejandro Sanz won Record of the Year for his song Palmeras en el Jardín. And Best New Artist went to Mexican pop star Paloma Murphy. Isabella Gomez Sarmiento, NPR News.
I'm Windsor Johnston, NPR News in Washington.
Hello, I'm Korva Coleman, host of NPR News Now. On behalf of the NPR newscast team, I want to personally thank you for your continued support. I also want to let you know that after November 14th, we're going to take a step back from producing the video version of NPR News Now. During the next few weeks, we'll take some time to create a new video format and explore other platforms so that we can deliver a smarter, more focused experience to our growing audience. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. we're not going anywhere. While we will no longer publish this daily news roundup, you can still listen to NPR News Now on broadcast and on podcast and keep up with all the news from NPR by following us on your social channels, by listening to your local member station, or visiting npr.org. Thank you, as always, for watching.